And we're live for our 12th episode of A Screw Loose, and we're back in our classic format show where we roll the screws and answer as many questions as we possibly can in a limited amount of time. Super fun. I've missed doing our little chatty roundtables. I love having the guests. I love them both. Okay, so
Every show is great.
Every show is great, but I miss this. This is gonna be fun. So anyway, we are A Screw Loose. We have Adam Petrie from Atlanta, Georgia, of Petrie Piccolos. We have Kim Jurins of Kimberly Jurins Woodwind Repairs in the west coast of Canada, and we have Rachael Simon, the flute mechanic in Pennsylvania, and myself, Sarah Stockton, from Boundless Flute in Connecticut. And our disclaimers, as always, are that our opinions are our own and do not reflect the opinions of anyone else you may imagine we are or are not affiliated with. We reserve the right to change our minds on absolutely anything we tell you this evening, and take our advice with caution, and anything you try at home on your own is in your own hands. And we're not responsible if something goes awry. But if something goes really well, then it's all our fault.
Yeah. It's like that. I approve this message.
So, yeah, when I was a teacher, we always had the line of like, if you're going to take the credit for the good students, you also have to take the credit for the bad ones. So anywwho, all right. So we decided that our theme this week would be shop talk. So we're going to answer some of our backlog of questions that are related to life as a flute repair tech. And so yeah, let's dive in. You guys ready?
Yeah, I have a shim stuck to my hand. Hang on.
Okay,
there we go.
There you go.
On theme.
Right way. On theme.
Totally
Right,
on
so we're gonna get 30 seconds each to give our answers, and I will roll our screws or loose screws to figure out what order we go in, and then we will free for all if we so desire at the end of that, after we all take our 30 seconds. All right, so our first question comes from Brian, who's one of our elite repair geek techs, and he wants to know, we're starting off with a bang, repairs that really tested your patience.
Oh no,
Tell me some stories. All right,
Do me last.
You're at the whims of the screws here. We've got Kim first.
Oh, I know one. I know.
Okay.
And then me. Oh no, I didn't think about this either. And then Adam and Rachael. You are last.
Okay.
All right, Kim, are you ready?
Yes.
All right, take us away. 30 seconds.
I think that the one that tested my patience the most was actually my own flute, because I wanted it to be more than it was ever built to be. So I have like hot rodded it up. This is the one that I played in like high school that I needed to make it play more. And I was trying to take it beyond its expectations, and it was very frustrating because I wanted it to be a Ferrari and it was really a Ford. And they're both lovely vehicles. It's just that, yeah.
All right. Good job.
Whoa,
All right.
I didn't go over?
You didn't. That was perfect. Okay.
This is excellent.
I didn't really think very
Beautiful.
much about this, but tested my patience. Oh, I think it's any time that I go in with different expectations than what the flute actually is. Yeah, and so yeah, or when I have to follow someone who supposedly did a great job, and I open up the flute and it's the opposite of that.
Yeah.
Time for me. All right, Adam.
If I privately nickname your instrument, that's not good.
And if two of us nickname the same instrument,
so
that's still
we can free for all about Voldemort. But I had one that
Voldemort.
I nicknamed Satan just because it was an extremely old piccolo and they wanted it to be something that it wasn't. And every time I looked at it, it decided it would go cross-eyed and do something else. So, Satan.
You'll notice there's a theme.
Indeed. All right, Rachael.
You know what really grinds my gears is when what really tests my patience in general is pins that are difficult to remove, because 99% of the time it's something that could have been avoided with pinning it a different way, and so it just makes me
Mhm.
angry. Like it didn't have to be this way, and now here I am wasting my time. Like it's So we've been there, but
Yeah.
that really tests
Dear
my patience.
manufacturers, use good pins, please.
And make them stick out at the bottom and flush and no burrs. It's not hard. We can do this.
There's no
I
need
agree.
to make that particular thing so dang
It's so
So that is
flipping
the
annoying
fresh
for
issue
us.
for me. I'm a
true.
little bit raw
I guess
from a.
so. Yeah. So the thing that I'm raw about this week is I've had a lot of felt pads, and as we have discussed in various other places, even though the pad might say the same name on the back, different importers import that same name with different specs. And there is one importer that I don't know why they chose the specs that they did, but you never know that they're them until you start working with them, and then you go, oh no, I know which pads these are, and
Because then they can be a
that
surprise.
the 3-hour COA that you were planning on is going to be like a 9-hour COA.
You don't like lumpy pads?
It's not just that they're lumpy, it's just that they also like they're lumpy, but then they're not predictable either. So it's like, anywho, all right. So,
Yes,
do we-
roulette pads are not fun to work with.
no, do we want to talk about Voldemort, Adam?
Let me just get a really short one out of the way.
Okay.
I had a piccolo a couple of years ago that was cracked very badly, okay? And I did the best I could to repair the crack, and then I was playing it, and I heard a noise.
Oh no.
I not only heard it crack again, I then watched it. I looked at it, and I saw the crack open up, and I watched it travel down the entire instrument.
Oh no.
And I said, you have a new name, Splinters. But yeah, let's tell the story of Voldemort, because it's how you and I met.
No, we knew each other from Straubinger.
Oh yeah, that's
Well,
right.
yeah,
After that. It was that summer.
It was like right after that.
That's
So
right.
it was the bonding moment.
yes,
It was our first interaction after Strawberry.
yes, it was. So I was working on a very old instrument, and the right hand mechanism had a weak pinhole, and it snapped. And so
Like the steel snapped, right? Is that what you're saying? Yeah. Okay.
yes.
Okay.
So I I drove up in a panic to another flute maker, and I thought that we fixed it, and I crashed my car quite badly on the way there. Like it should have been totaled. Anyway, and I got up there and I thought that we fixed it, and then when I came home, the pin in the F sharp came out, and it turned out that the drill had snapped off when we were re-drilling that pinhole, and I didn't realize that, and apparently the person who was helping me figured it would hold, because sometimes it does, but it didn't.
That's not very nice.
So then I ended
These
up,
things do happen though.
these things do happen. So I was like, okay, this flute is cursed. I was like, who else can I call? So I was like, oh, Adam knows things.
Adam knows things.
I've had a few of those phone calls. Adam knows things.
So I ended up talking to Adam, and he was like, oh, just send it to me. Just send it to me. And I was like, oh, hallelujah. He's going to fix it for me. And so then I sent it to Adam. And Adam, what happened then?
Oh, that was just the beginning of the story. And I looked at it and I said, you do realize that these hinge tubes are worn like an hourglass, and no amount of sledging is going to possibly fix this. And I said, we're already in a position where we need a new hinge steel, because not only was the drill bit snapped off in there, it was drilled in the wrong index. So it meant none of the adjustment lugs were going to be where they were supposed to be. And it wasn't one of those very pleasant instruments that only has like one lug and then one for the F sharp. It had 4. And they all had,
Right.
and remember, this was extremely old, like extremely old. So I was like, okay, now we have to go up a steel size. Well, I had not realized how extremely thin those hinge tubes were until the reamer tore out the side of one of the hinge tubes. And at this point in time, I was an apprentice at an oboe making company. I was like, well, crap. At least I know how to do this, but this is not what I wanted to do.
This isn't what I signed up for.
And I was like, at this point, this is way more than I signed up for. You know, it's way worse. And so I pulled the hinge tube, but in the process of pulling the hinge tube, the leg became damaged beyond repair. So I had to unsolder the cup from the leg. And I had to make a completely new arm and a bending jig to bend that thing around so that way it could have a new tail. And so I had to remake that key before I could even start making a new steel with new pinholes. And that is the tale of Voldemort.
Yes.
That should have been on the Halloween episode.
However, all's well that ends well, because it plays beautifully. I see it every year for COA now, and like it's totally operational and loved to death by its owner. So
Wow.
Yeah, I'm just glad that it's holding and that it went well, you know, because it could not have gone worse.
No, my car still bears the scars.
Okay, so here's what happened. Clearly this thing had Horcruxes. So the car was the first one. No, the steel was the first one.
I had to make a new adjustment lug too.
What's that?
Oh.
I'd make a new adjustment lug too for the D.
Yeah, you did. Yep.
Oh.
Joy of joys.
See,
what a great time that was.
For any techs that are happen to be watching, it is okay to call the manufacturer and say, I think this may be your job. Can I put this in a box and will you fix it for me, please? Because they will say yes.
Lesson.
If you don't have an Adam.
Yes.
But I don't even think Adam would want to do that again.
No.
No.
And that was
Just because he can doesn't mean he wants to.
at this point. That was when I was still fairly gung-ho about like I can fix anything and anything's worth fixing. And nowadays, I'm not sure I would have gone to the extreme lengths that I did.
But you succeeded.
But we did.
It was like I am learning to make things. This is a good opportunity.
Exactly.
Now I know how to and do make things, and I look back on it and say, this is a good opportunity for someone else.
This is a great opportunity for me to not do.
That's awesome. Let's keep moving.
Yes.
So the next question is also, well, we've got like 5 good ones in a row from Brian, so we're just gonna keep going.
Brian.
Thanks, Brian. I think he submitted these like 5 months ago
Why?
too. So it's
A while
about time
ago.
we get to
Very
those.
patient.
He's very patient.
So sorry.
All right, most unique horns you've worked on. Ooh, oh, who was that? That was Kim. Kim's first.
Apparently, I just like to fall on the floor today.
Me, Adam, and Rachel, you're last again. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Sorry,
All right.
Rachel.
All right, go, Kim, go.
I think the most unique one that I had was I had a really old, not terribly valuable wood flute come in where the head joint was shattered and a piece was missing the size of your pinky, and it had been filled with epoxy and plumbing adhesive. Now, fortunately, it was a lined tube, so I was able to extract the stuff out and fill it, but that liner is never coming out anymore. Fortunately, they were kind of, they just wanted it playable for fun, not necessarily, but that would be it.
Wow.
Totally missed the embouchure hole, by the way.
That's good. Unique. I don't know. I feel like they're all flutes.
Every single.
Then you
flute
haven't seen
ever.
one of what I'm going to say.
Oh gosh. Okay. Most unique. I got to work on a really old alto flute with a loopy loop sort of thing going on a really old cart. That had been modified by Eva Kigma, so that was kind of interesting to work on. Yeah, that's my time. Who's next? Adam.
Two come to mind. One, I was fortunate enough to be able to do the restoration work on the primary piccolo that was owned by Clement Baron when he was with Detroit, and did all his recordings, and it was open G sharp reverse thumb B flat. So that was the
Ooh.
experience learning how to play for testing. The second one, though, it was a very old French wood flute, but it had a metal head joint, or maybe it was German. But anyway, it just really sucked. And I couldn't figure it out. And then I was like, something with the head joint. And then I looked, and under the lip plate, there was a hole through the tubing. All the way through it. And I was like, well, no wonder this is terrible. So I had to pull the assembly off and then patch the hole and then put it back on. That was fun.
Rachel.
Well, I have worked on our current instrument was Ava King's quarter tone alto flute. I have worked on one of those, and that was very interesting experience, especially to play. It was quite fun to mess with, like play testing and just learning the key work. But the most unique instrument I think I ever had to work on was an 1867 Riddle cart piccolo. So, and that was just like every single moment of taking that thing apart, I was just in wonderment because it's like Dr. Seuss invented an instrument. There's a Dr. Seuss version of a piccolo.
I have one here now.
Really?
And thanks.
They're so cool though. I mean, like, how could you not have
There's
fun?
like keys all over the place, and it's totally
There's keys just sticking out everywhere.
It's just like it reminds me of one of those like the Sneeds things from Dr. Seuss. Those like the puffball things. There's like
the truffula trees.
Yeah, there's just like stuff all over the place. It's just like, what the heck?
Well, they went from like no keys, and they're like, oh my god, we can add keys, and so
like,
they just
all the
keys.
we can all of the keys, extra.
What I liked about it was just having that sense of wonderment for a moment, being like, so this goes here, oh okay, and then that moves, oh that moves that, because like with the flutes, it's like a flute to flute, and you just like it becomes very like automatic, your understanding of how it works. So it was fun to be surprised.
Yeah.
Take pictures first, otherwise you'll be really surprised.
Yes. I did take pictures. And
but like if you're doing something different, take pictures as you disassemble it so that you have a hope of reassembling it.
Every time one of my saxophone playing friends forces me to like, oh no, can you just look at the one thing? And I get to the end and there's this
like
leftover, and I'm like,
you're like, well, let's do.
I think this is part of the octave thingy. Oh god.
Here's your instrument.
That's why I don't take those.
Piece.
I don't anymore. I finally, but again, I was once young and I'll do it.
Adventurous.
Yes. And now I'm just like, yeah, there's people better than me at that. Go.
I still have that disease with cars. I'm just like, I can do it. And then halfway through, I'm just like, why did I think I could do this? I get it eventually.
Yes, you do, because you're awesome. Should we go on?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So in 30 seconds or less, talk about the good and the bad of owning and operating your own business.
The good and bad in 30 seconds?
In 30 seconds or less. Here we go. First is
no stress there, man.
Kim, you're first again.
How is this working? I've got like some kind of oddly weighted.
I lost your real screw. Substitute a different one.
You heard it here first, guys.
I'm second again.
I've become missing.
I'm gonna start again. Here we go.
Okay.
First is Adam.
Excellent.
All right. Second is Kim.
This takes a little bit of the pressure off.
Third is Rachel, and then me. Okay. All right. 30 seconds or less. Good and bad of owning and operating your own business. Go, Adam.
On one hand, you get to set your schedule, so that's really nice. Unfortunately, that also means you set your own schedule, which means you don't sleep very much. Because
we're supposed to sleep?
You have to do everything. And I've never worked harder. I've never worked so hard, but it is worth it, but it's hard. It's difficult. That's it.
Kim.
I think the best thing for me about owning my own business is I get to set my own policies. That is huge. So that's definitely by far the best. The worst is that I have to also do everything. So I don't have an apprentice. I don't have a helper. I don't have a cleaner. I don't have any so So the best part is you get to do policy. The hard part though is that you also have to try to manage your entire life and the entire business on your own.
Rachel.
I just like it. Like, I'm trying to think of something that's just like a bad thing. And I mean, yeah, certainly the time management is challenging for me sometimes, because I do love the freedom and the flexibility in the schedule. And sometimes that freedom and flexibility happens at 3 a.m. But you know, other than that, I really enjoy it. And I enjoy that I get to set my own standards, especially, and decide I could spend however long I want to get something right. No one's going to tell me, okay, stop, it's good enough. Like, nope, I can do it until I feel like it's good enough. That's really important to me.
I love that I can put on comfortable clothes every single day, and I don't have to. I know that I don't know. It sounds like such a tiny thing, but to me, it's like just so huge. And everything that you guys said, I echo all of those statements exactly. Yeah, downside is really finding the time to run the business as well as repair. Like, that is extremely difficult. The bookkeeping and the ordering and the scheduling and the communication and I mean, it takes so much more time than you ever think that it will. So that is challenging. Do we want to continue to free for all on this?
To get back to like setting our own policies, I also like the fact that I get to determine like terms of service, because I really don't put up with nonsense. And that often means that if you are a week late for an appointment, I cancel it. And if you get mad about it, then I fire you. And you know, that happens sometimes. And that's a downside too, because then you have that unpleasant interaction. But I also like the fact that I don't have someone saying you have to put up with abuse. And that's something that I am really grateful for, because I had been in a position where I had to do anything. I had to put up with any kind of treatment, and being able to demand at least dignity is something that I'm really grateful for, because that's not always afforded to you when you're employed elsewhere.
I also like that I can have a window, and big on the yoga pants for my work uniform. Unapologetic.
That is my official uniform.
I put on jeans for you guys tonight, even though
I didn't. I feel like
I didn't. I'm still wearing the yoga pants. That's...
Oh, I have to get dressed sometime, but
no, you don't.
I love that I get to connect with my customers directly, even though most of them for me are long distance. I didn't always get to do that before I worked for myself, and for me that's so crucial. Like, I literally don't know how I could do this otherwise. It's just I like to know what I'm working on. I like to know who it's for and what their story is and what it means to them, and then, you know, who they are as a person. Like, that helps me work. I don't know how else to say
and
it.
that was huge for me too. That sort of being able to connect. I have never, even when I was working retail, I have never seen the instruments that come in and the clients that are attached to them as just clients. They've always been like family to me. I ask questions about how they're doing, and I've always wanted to spend the time with them. And until I was my own business, that wasn't always possible. And you learn so much, and you get to give so much back, and that's really, really important. There's been players that have wanted to quit because it turns out they have health issues, and we can fix the health issues because we can modify the instrument so they can keep playing, and that is huge. Even if it only happens once, that it's huge. So there's my.
Sorry, I'm just smiling at Mark and Jacob and
My little dog.
This is the part we're leading up to the. This is like on topic tonight.
Yeah, my shop is in the house.
Yes. All right. Would any of you have, or would you consider having employees or apprentices? So this is going to be Adam, me, Rachel, and then Kim. All right, Adam.
Today for me was actually really, really stressful and intense, and didn't happen the way I expected it to. But to get around to it, that was one of the subjects that I ended up discussing today, as I'm kind of evaluating the trajectory of my business over the next 10 to 20 years. So even though I do not currently have employees, moving forward, I will be, just because of the way my business is going.
Cool. Perfect timing. I mean, COVID has changed things, obviously, because we can't have people in our own spaces. In the past, I have had friends who have come in, and I've taught them to do like head joint corks and how to like clean flutes and just like do the basic kind of prep work for me. And the problem with being a sole proprietor is that it's not often cost effective to teach somebody while you're trying to earn a living. And that's kind of what it ended up coming down to, is like I couldn't sustain it. So I don't foresee taking on anyone in that capacity again. I don't think. But things change. Who knows? Rachel.
Yeah, that situation you're describing is exactly what was described to me when I was calling around to see if I could get an apprenticeship, 12 or some odd years ago, 13 years ago now. And it still is the same today. So that's kind of a barrier to entry for this field that is legit. Like, I don't have an answer for that. I really don't. But I can say that I love to teach this work. When I was working for other companies, I got the opportunity to train a lot of people, and I absolutely love it. So,
Kim.
I can't see having any employees that work at the bench. I had, before COVID, planned on having somebody to come in and do like remote, like just some basic like bookkeeping and stuff, like data entry. Nothing that had anything directly to do with clients, but just like entering receipts into QuickBooks. Yeah, and that kind of stuff, and catalog things that way. Mm-hmm. So in the future, maybe something like that. Mm-hmm. Oh, can I have 10 seconds?
Yeah, we can
free for it.
Yeah. The one thing I have done in the past that I really like, and when we figure out how to be in context with people again, I would like to do more, is that I used to do take your kid to work day. And I used to be a designated take your kid to work day. And right behind me, I would put a little table up, and the junior high and high school kids, one kid would come and they would learn how to take an instrument like a flute apart and put it back together, and learn how to put a pad in and a shim in and how it worked. And that's all we did. We didn't do anything complicated, but they wanted to know what it would be like to just like what repair kind of was. And that was about as much as I could do. But it also, it was a good jump off for, oh, this is really cool. Or, you know what, I don't like getting dirty. Forget it. Never mind. I'm not doing this job. So I did like doing that. I'd like to do that again.
Cool. Awesome. Douglas.
Ducky.
Sorry.
Doug likes being his own shop too.
Excellent.
Yeah, I don't know.
Oh, all right. Ready for the next one?
Yeah.
Yes.
All right. Favorite music to listen to while working? So this is going to be me, Rachel, Adam, and Kim. All right. I actually don't listen to music while I work, because I feel like when I listen to music, I want to like listen to the music, and I can't do that and work. So instead I watch sci-fi shows on Hulu and Netflix, or like whatever, like Dexter, like just old reruns of stuff that I don't have to like super duper pay attention to, but it's like entertaining enough to like not make me feel like the minutes are crawling by. So that is what I do. Next, Rachel.
I have a lot of music that I listen to, and I'm super picky, and it has to be just the right thing for just the right moment, and sometimes not at all. But as an example, my super focused padding music, like when your brain's like in overdrive because you're just like in shimming mode, and I want to focus, and especially if it's late at night, I like to listen to like electronic music, just instrumental electronic stuff. I think they call it chill hop. I'm not sure that that's actually what I'm listening to. It's just I have a station that I made on Pandora and that's my padding music. Um,
All right. Adam.
I'll usually have some sort of like TV show going, and usually I look for bulk of episodes. So if it says it has like 100 episodes, I'm like, yes, because it means I'm going to entertain for at least 2 or 3 days. However, like if I'm cutting a head joint, I do have a very specific process for that, and this Victrola over here, I play old Judy Garland vinyl.
That's awesome.
Of like my concept and how it's very similar to like the shape and texture of her voice. So
awesome. Kim.
I don't listen to music ever when I'm working, and it's because my brain is wired that it can't not listen to it and want to practice it. So the problem that I have is that I've played too much orchestral stuff, and that's really all that I like to listen to anyways, because I'm kind of weird like that. But then I'm not actually repairing anymore. I'm remembering the funny passage, and that it's a pain in the neck to do that interval, so it doesn't work for me. So I usually listen to or watch TV reruns that I've already seen 1,000 times, and it's just on in the background. Couldn't tell you a thing about any of the episodes.
Wow, I could not listen to talking. The talking part of my brain is the same part of my brain that does flute repair, so I cannot have both of them running at once. Both of those programs cannot exist at the same time.
That's the same. That's the thing with the music. Both of my programs, I have the like. We can't do these two things together.
Times where I have to turn absolutely everything off, like, and have like utter silence. Like even like if the heat is on or like the bathroom fan is running, like I have to turn all of
the bathroom fan. Oh my gosh. Like, Mark, the bathroom fan's on.
See, I actually like diagnosed ADD, and if it's too quiet, I cannot function.
Wow.
So I in college was the person that to study I had to have both music and the TV going at the same time.
Oh my god. See, I
I couldn't even.
I think I'm not diagnosed, but I think I have like sensory issues, because like I get overloaded if there's too much going on, whether it's like visual or oral or whatever. Like my brain just shuts off. Like it blanks out. It's like static. Like I can't make sentences. I can't think. I can't move. I can't. So I have like the opposite end of that spectrum.
Yeah. See, it keeps my mind occupied if I have 3 or 4 things to pay attention to at once.
No. I would be a very angry human being.
Okay, so this is where I'm like totally different than the I'm totally deaf on this side. I'm hard of hearing on this side, and I have a thing called APD, which is auditory processing disorder. So for me, like I just did the fans make noise. My brain likes to have something going in the background, but I often can't actually understand what's being said. It's just it likes the distraction. And for me, actually most of the time I'm watching TV, and the TV is literally right here, and most of it's just me watching it peripherally, so it's actually just it's company sort of in the way that it would be having like an animal in the house that wanders back and forth, and it's not like you're really interacting with them, but they're there.
Yeah,
I live alone, right? So it's actually just kind of like bizarre company that I don't really pay attention to. It's kind of weird.
Perfect timing. That was our free for all.
I like that question.
That was a good one.
All right,
so that was all of Brian's questions. So now we have Daniel Rodriguez, who's another of our patrons. He wants to know, what are your favorite magnifiers to use while working, and what are the advantages and disadvantages of different styles? Okay, so we've got me. Yeah, that was me. Okay. Rachel, forget what color I am. Kim, and then Adam. My favorite magnifiers are just my trusty Optivisors with the number 5 lens in them. That's what I use most of the time. Adam gave me a very cool magnifying loop that I use sometimes, but I find it difficult to focus through, but I do use it because he's right, it's useful. I also have a little macro lens for my iPhone, that takes really beautiful big pictures. And sometimes I'll actually use that to look at things under. So I have my screen and I use that as kind of a camera. Who's next? That's Rachel.
I have been using a 10x jeweler's loop for my whole career, and this is one of like 3 tools that if I didn't have this, I'm completely lost. I cannot function without this. I literally don't know what I would do. This and my tweezers, my Swiss tweezers, and my feeler gauge. It has to be that specific one. It can't be a different one. It has to be that one. So yeah, this does it for me. I can't do the optimizers because one eye works really well and one eye does not. So it doesn't work for me.
Oh, I have a dumb eye too. It apparently sees 20/20, but it just doesn't actually it doesn't go into my brain.
I have one of those too. Whoa.
Like really profoundly, my optometrist is like, it sees 20/20, but apparently your brain can't interpret it.
Well, mine definitely is not 20/20. I'm like blind as a bat, but I have a dark spot like right on my optic nerve that every single time I go to my optometrist, he's like, "Oh, you have this really interesting thing. We need to take." I was like, "You've done that every year for the last 5 years."
I'm so happy you're so excited to see it all the time.
Yeah, right? But like my better visioned eye actually is not my dominant eye because of that weird little thing. Yeah. Anyway, Adam. Yeah, Adam.
So for me, just because most of my work is on Piccolo and when I need to see something up close, I have to see it really, really close. So this is my setup. It's literally a cheap pair of like $10 like grocery store reading glasses that are 1 prescription too strong. So they do a slight magnifying. And then I got this from a jewelry supply place, but this is a 20x diamond affecting loop. And I keep it set up so that way it's over my dominant eye because I'm left eye dominant. And it allows me to get in so close that I can actually do like little tone hole work and stuff while I'm looking at it. And it looks enormous to me at that point. But also like Sarah, I have a macro lens for my iPhone. And that does take really, really great, huge pictures. So if I can't quite see something that way, sometimes I'll use the macro lens and I'll zoom way in, and that is useful.
Yes. And usually when you think you've gotten something, you see it on that and you're like, darn it. Anybody want to?
Along that,
I haven't got mine yet.
Oh, you haven't?
I haven't gone yet.
Oh, shoot.
Okay. Well,
okay, go, Kim, go.
It's okay. Mine's going to be really, really depressing. I have this, and I occasionally use it. I'd go find it. I actually have really, really, really good close-up vision. And apparently I'm going to be able to hang on to it for a little bit longer. I'm like right at that age where you start needing reading glasses and stuff like that. But as of right now, I actually have really, really good close-up vision, and I don't tend to use a magnifier.
Well, good for you. No.
Don't worry, there's many things that I have crutches for the other way, but for whatever reason, I use it rarely.
That's awesome. I mean, that's ideal for our career.
Ask in another 2 years.
Yeah.
But yeah.
One thing for me that's important with like my sight, just because like the optovisors often have lights and things in them. I have an astigmatism that is really, really sensitive to really bright light. So most techs use these really bright, like white lights. I cannot use that. I can't function. So the reason like I look so like fuchsia and pink in this is because my shop is actually lit with like Edison bulb lamps, because it's this softer like golden light, and I can see really well that warmer, softer light. But unfortunately, it does mean that I have lamps everywhere.
That's what I have here.
To provide adequate light, but that's kind of why if you look at my social media, like everything has that like golden glow to it.
It's cool.
Because of my lighting. And it's because if it's a cool light, it hurts my eyes and I get headaches.
Well, it's a neat vibe anyways too. Like your shop has a unique feel and look because of it.
Yeah, because like I've got a Victrola there.
Yeah, that's pretty sweet.
My desk right here is like 100-some-year-old writing desk. Like I use treadle lathes and stuff. Like I use a lot of like sort of pseudo steampunk stuff.
Meanwhile, I am brought to you by IKEA. Like IKEA.
You did a fantastic job with that IKEA stack. It's like a repair shop wall. It's amazing. It's so like compact and dense, and
it is. I have.
it's
envy
very
some days.
impressive.
I adore IKEA. I do.
You are very skilled at the IKEA.
If there was like a career where people would just pay me to put together IKEA furniture, like, and
I enjoy
There
it.
probably actually is.
well, okay, but like actually paid well though.
Well,
I like
it's like when my
well,
favorite
it may
thing
pay. It may pay better than this. I mean,
true. Should we keep going?
yeah.
Okay.
Going.
What else we got?
Okay. Oh. Well, okay. So Ryan would like to know. This is a sticky one.
Ooh, I know which one this is.
How do you
I know
rec-
which one this is, and I've been waiting for this forever.
How do you reconcile your employer's need for speed, which of course our employers, I guess, don't really, but some of you have worked for.
We had employers though.
Or even like our customers, they need their flutes back as quickly as possible. Like there is time is of the essence.
Right, they are our employers. How do you reconcile that need for speed with your craftsperson's need for quality, for student and intermediate flutes specifically? The answer is obviously there shouldn't be any shortcuts, but if there have to be shortcuts, what are they? Thanks. 30 seconds
or less.
I actually don't know how I'm going to answer this one.
Okay. First, oh God, I'm first. Okay.
Yay.
Okay.
Go Sarah.
Adam is second. Rachel, you're third. Kim, you are at the end.
Oh, good. I'm gonna use more than 30 seconds. Fair warning.
I'm gonna try to keep my initial response to the 30, and then we will probably free for all quite a bit. Here we go. I don't. I wish I did more, and I try really hard, but most of the time I spend the time that it needs, and then I lose my shirt. Even though I tell people that I am going to charge more, I am, and I do. I charge what I feel like is at the top of the market and what is normal, but I still end up losing my shirt most of the time. On student intermediate flutes, I'll talk about this more in the free for all. I do obviously not go to the lengths that I do on a handmade flute, but it's somebody else's turn for now. Adam.
I'm with you on this one. I don't, but the way I've kind of reconciled that is I realize that I only get maybe 1 or 2 requests a year for step up instruments, and I've not worked on a student flute in I don't know how long. So I've just kind of gotten to the point where I've realized that there are other colleagues of mine nearby that are wizards at that stuff, and they're able to have extremely high standards, but also like, you know, make a living. So I often refer it to colleagues that are more skilled than myself in those specific arenas. Yeah.
Rachel.
Yeah, that's exactly where I am too. I have a few. I rarely service student and intermediate flutes, and I have a few specific brands and models that I feel that I'm efficient enough at to be a good value for the person that I'm working for. But generally, that's another skill to do those flutes well and quickly for the price point that people are looking for those flutes is a whole different skill set that I don't have as kind of a handmade flute specialist. So I try to refer them to people who are skilled in those things. You know, it's just a different world.
Kim.
I'll do the here first and then the rest in the free for all. Okay. Here I don't get a lot of student flutes. I do a lot of most of the student flutes that I do are donations destined for schools, or as like people's backup thing. Practice is really what it comes down to. Student flutes and intermediate flutes require entirely different skill sets, and we need more of you. If people are wanting to become flute techs, please, we need more student and intermediate flute techs where that's where they want to specialize. We need more.
Mad respect for that. I mean, it's not like it's lesser
it's
skill.
Hard work, and we need you. So yeah, that's.
Right. So like anytime that if I, for example, were to pass on a job, it is not because I consider it like beneath myself. It is because I recognize that I lack the skills in order to be a valuable service to them, and that there are other people that are equally skilled to myself, but that is more in their realm of expertise. Um, just because they really are, they're completely different in not only their design, but how they are serviced. So, if someone ever gets sort of a referral elsewhere, it's not because I think more of myself and lesser of them. It's because I respect their work, and I respect that they have skills that I don't.
Well put.
This is where I have to kind of walk the line a little bit, because there's not anybody really close by that I would send people to for student flutes, even because I see a lot of the local attempts which are not doing damage, but the teachers are not happy with how their students' flutes are playing, or the owners of those flutes are not happy with how they're playing after they've taken them back a few times. So I do then end up jumping in and working on them, which I don't mind because I like helping people, but it is a completely different skill set. So when I work on those flutes, I do try to stick to a certain set of principles that I know apply to those flutes, and that I use, far fewer partial shims. Like I rely a little bit more on, using my clips than I do. Like this is an intermediate Yamaha. But it's very frustrating for me as someone who does have that high-end skill set to know what the potential of the flute is, and to try to like find that happy medium where I know that this flute is playing far better than it would, otherwise, but to not spend 10 to 15 hours working on it, when I really should only be spending 3.
I don't know how to do the 3-hour overhauls. I'm just gonna say it. I don't know how to do it.
No, I'm not saying overhaul. I'm like COA. Like
people do that though.
Oh, they do. And here's this huge can of worms, right? But that's the kind of work that I'm following, is because like I don't believe
play my overhauls for more than 3 hours.
Exactly. Like I don't believe it's possible. I don't believe it's possible. At least, okay, so in New England, for the flute teachers that I am fixing their students' flutes for, I don't believe it's possible to do an overhaul that will make them happy in that amount of time. No. So it's all about your clientele. If you're fixing flutes for a huge marching band program in like the Midwest, yeah, crank those suckers out. Like, do not spend time on those. It's for a completely different thing. But the student flutes that I see are the students of symphony players who teach at conservatories. Like, they have to play well. They have to play orchestral literature. So like, yes, this may be a 500 series Yamaha, but I have to make it play orchestral literature. It's not just playing a B flat scale. Like, so you have to understand who you're working for and what their expectations are, and try to still walk that line. And I think that's why when we looked at this question, we were all like, oh,
kind of a doozy.
Oh no, I love this question. I have actually really seriously, I've been waiting to answer this question for like a really long time.
Yes.
I spent so much time in retail.
Right.
I have a trick. It's a great trick. So I'm assuming the question is coming from somebody who's doing retail and their boss is on their butt because they need to pump out 35 flutes and they just need to get them done. What I would recommend is make sure that you don't skimp on getting good pads. Make sure you're getting good quality materials, because if you spend a little bit more money, or even not a little bit more money, I get all my pads direct from Music Center in Italy, who are the company who makes the pads that go in the flutes when they're manufactured. If you get a good quality pad, you will spend less time shimming because you won't be shimming around deficiencies in the pad. Also, make sure you're getting the right thickness pads so that you're not putting 5,000 shims in, or you're not trying to crank the seat into the pad because it's actually too thick. So that makes a big difference. The other thing is I used to set them up, clamp them, and leave them, and then unclamp them, put them in a bin, and then do the regulation the next day. So do all the basic adjustments and shims, clamp them, and literally put them in a bin, and continue that cycle. And then the next day do the regulation, because the clamps will have released and the pads will have like settled. So it seems like a longer path, but it's actually much shorter because you're not having to re-regulate twice once the clamps come off. Because the reality is, they're student flutes, you're clamping student flutes. Like the $500 retail or rental flute stuff, you're probably going to clamp 40% of them. That's just the way it is. But you do need to let them sit. Otherwise, they won't play by the time they get downstairs or to Johnny's.
Yes,
hands.
and I think
Kim is the
was,
master at this.
Yes, and I've picked up a lot from talking to you, Kim, about.
Oh my gosh,
it's just it is
cycle.
such a different universe.
Yes, well,
and it's why I'm so adamant that we need more.
Yeah.
We need more people who want to specialize in that level of instrument, because you can actually make good money at it. And it is a really different skill set, and you will always be busy.
Well, and I think the key takeaway here, the difference between the workflow is different. So on a professional flute with strawberry pads, you can sit there and you can work on it for 6 hours straight, and like you can get a good result. With a student flute with soft woven felt pads, the key is letting it rest. Go through, do like shim every pad with 1 or 2 shims, like get rid of the big holes, clamp it, let it sit overnight, unclamp it, come back to it, get all the medium-sized holes out, clamp it, let it sit overnight, come back, go through it the next day, right? And maybe it's probably done by then. But so it's like you're not spending a lot of time on it each day, but you're letting the cycle. You're
that's so important.
Times to relax, and that was really key for me, because I have a tendency to just get in there and obsess.
That's honestly good with felt pads, regardless.
You'll end up cycling back if you don't let it rest, and there's no way to speed it up. So the reality is the only way to actually speed up the efficiency of how you're doing it is to keep moving the line and then cycle back 24 hours later. And that will make you more efficient, even though your boss will probably scratch their head at it because it will look really weird to them. But it will save you time in the end, I promise. I used to literally have different colored Rubbermaid bins. I had a yellow bin, and the yellow bin was never a good thing. The yellow bin was the bin of things that were just problem children. But I had like so everything was like very contained, and you could move, and it was actually very orderly and very efficient. And that's really the best way to do it. But get good pads, for the love of all that is holy. Do not put up with pads that are lumpy.
Right. And this is where, like, obviously if you're not repadding it yourself, you don't always have a choice. But this is my previous comment about the back of the pad saying the same thing. So if you buy them direct from Music Center, they will be good pads, even if they say the exact same thing on the backs as what you might get from other suppliers. They are not the same pad. And I can actually tell.
Me too.
I can tell whose work I'm following because I know who buys which pads. And so like I'll work I'll do work on a flute, and the person won't tell me who repadded this flute, but I'll be like, oh, so did you see so and so before this? And they'll be like, how did you know? I'd be like, because they
like
buy
a fingerprint
that I don't like. And I know that you got it overhauled a year ago, and I know that you're really unhappy with it, and I know why you're unhappy with it, because I am also unhappy with it.
The other thing with rental flute stuff is the other thing that will make you faster and a better tech is actually to spend some time taking some really good flute lessons. And because the more you can play test it well, all the way from the lowest note, whether that's C or B, all the way up to at least high F sharp, and you have to be able to play a high A. You have to be able to play a high A, and you have to be able to play the high F and the high F sharp to be able to do some really specific regulations. So the other thing that will make you faster is actually being a competent player, because that will help you. You don't want to get to the point where you're like trying to play past leaks, because you're like, but it will allow you to sort of go, yes, this plays okay. Like is it perfect? No, it's $500 and it's going to a 12-year-old, and there are 900 more. And if it bothers them, it'll come back in 3 months or whatever, and I can do some adjustments then. But the better you can play the flute, as a retail like environment, that will also serve you extremely well.
Listen to Kim. She knows what she's talking about.
Extremely well. There were situations where I would play through an instrument, it would play amazing. You put a leak light down it, you feel or gauge it, and you're like, I don't even understand, but it's done.
It passed the play test.
It passed play test. It would do symphonic material. I have no idea why that leak was not causing a problem, but it absolutely in zero way was. On to the next one. So that's where having really good play testing skills will save your bacon as well. And it makes your boss happy because they hear you playing a lot, which makes them think you're doing a lot, which is often sometimes helpful too. And just
so we only
got to do what you got to do.
So we have 3 more minutes. So let's wrap up on a funny one. So someone anonymously submitted. What are some amusing things and some frustrating things about having a home-based shop? Amusing and frustrating. Here we go. 30 seconds each. Adam. Kim. Me. And Rachel. All right. Adam.
Finding shims everywhere is not only amusing but very frustrating, because I'll be out in public somewhere, and this was like pre-COVID, and someone said, "There's a circle in your hair." I'm like, or razor blade or something like that. And I'm like, oh, okay. Or like I find them in the grocery store. That I found them in the grocery store.
And you know it's you.
I know. So that's amusing and frustrating, especially like when you find one in your hair in the shower, but you haven't gone to work yet. So, you know.
Agreed. All right, Kim.
Amusing is definitely the shim thing. I found them in my coffee. I found them on my bed. I found them in my shower. They are everywhere and you cannot escape them, regardless of how well you clean. They never go away. Frustrating for me is that I live and work in a very small space. And with COVID, it means I live and I work in a very small space. I'm 400 square feet total. So the shop is everywhere. There's no separation of church and state here, folks.
That's frustrating. Amusing. Amusing. Well, yes, the shim thing. I have found them on vacation in Illinois in the bathroom of the Airbnb that I was staying at. Like, how?
They travel.
They're everywhere, people.
I like the fact that like I could like just get up and just do like jumping jacks and burpees and run around the building. Frustrating is that I live in a condo, so I have neighbors on like 6 sides. So if it's late at night, I literally will go sit in my car to play test flutes.
Oh, you have
dedication.
One of those mobile professional studios too, hey? Yeah. Mine's a 2001 Jetta.
Mine's a pantry. I go to my pantry and play test.
There you go. So Rachel, you're up.
Amusing is fun fact, Douglas has pooped a flute shim before. So they do pass. Secondly,
it was a silver one, wasn't it?
No, it was orange.
Oh, okay.
This is when I first adopted him, and he had a phase of trying to figure out what food was because he thought the world was made of food. But anyways, it all's well that ends well. That's the theme of the night. Also, I have a fish tank on my workbench.
That is excellent.
One thing, well, never mind, it left my head. I forgot. I guess it wasn't that important. Oh yeah, one amusing thing that I keep home-based shop is I was once giving a ride to a client somewhere, and like I wasn't like thinking anything about it, and the first thing they realized is, why is there wood rolling around in the floor of your car? Because I have pieces of piccolo wood all over the place, and I said, don't worry about it, that's an experiment. And then they were looking down at all the wood, and they were like, oh my gosh. And And they said, "Why do you have a lip plate in your car?"
Oh.
Not
I don't know.
the things that
Gotta
happen,
have it somewhere.
Yep.
you know. And I was just like, I had to go somewhere. So
Yep.
Rolling around in the car.
Yes.
I just moved, and the person I'm sharing the apartment with opened the freezer and found pieces of wood in there, and they just looked at me, and I said, "That's an experiment. Leave it alone."
At least it
love
wasn't like a severed hand, like
Hey, that's true.
It could be worse.
it could be worse.
It could be so much
I will
worse.
say, I have one other amusing thing. I know we're like at time,
Yeah.
but the other thing that I find really amusing and actually really sweet is that because I work from home, I have like UPS and FedEx and Purolator and Canada, like everybody is dropping stuff off all the time and picking stuff up, and I find it amusing and really sweet how much they all are so invested in what they do for me. They're like, "I have it. I was really careful. I put it in a box special for you." Or they're like, I was worried you weren't home because then I would have to figure out, like, I would have to take it with me because I wouldn't leave it. So so I find it amusing how invested, because it's small and because they know I'm home based, how much extra effort a lot of my couriers and shipping personnel go to, because I'm not like a big corporate entity. They know that I'm little, and they sort of, it's really neat because they're sort of protective of me. It's really sweet. So that's another sort of amusing thing that you don't get. I never got that when I was at like the big box place. They're like, "Here's your stuff." So it's kind of neat to watch them sort of go, "Here, look, this one's in a good box." Yes, your boxes will be judged by my various courier services people.
It wasn't a typical checkbook box, because I've had that happen.
Oh yeah.
Wait,
Yeah.
what?
The case fit perfectly in a business checkbook box. It just slid in like a perfect sleeve. And I just saw that and I said, well, if
horrifying.
it wasn't broken before, it is now.
I give free shipping boxes, not like really high quality, awesome custom ones, but I provide free shipping boxes.
Yeah,
if
I
the
have
box,
I have a stash
if
of
the
those
if
too.
the box that you have sent me makes me nervous when it arrives, or my courier service is nervous when it arrives, it will go back in a different box. Yeah.
All right, people. That's it. We made it.
That's us.
Yay, good show.
Yay, that was fun.
Yay.
So thank you to everybody who tuned in. Oh my gosh, it's February next week. So that means that we have our player chat on Patreon next Thursday. So all of our player patrons get to hop on Zoom and talk to us about whatever's on their minds. So if that sounds appealing to you, please join us on Patreon. It's patreon.com/FluteTechTalk. Very easy to remember. And we have a super exciting guest next month. Do we want to say, or do we want to wait?
Wait.
We'll wait. Okay.
We're gonna wait. It's gonna be. We have got a
We need your
lineup like.
suspense.
Yes.
We have got a lineup like you wouldn't believe happening this year. We are so excited. We're
pretty
trying to
sweet.
figure out how to
That's pretty-
schedule everybody. It's that exciting.
It's pretty
Like we have so many people that it's kind of like,
So
great.
stay tuned.
It'll be fun. Send us more questions though.
Yes, send us more questions, because we still have a few more to get through, believe it or not, but we always love more. So thank you to everybody who's watching, and we will see you soon. All right, bye everybody.
Bye.
Bye.